Yep, you read that right. I got to play the brand new Bubsy game, the 2026 plus, I don't know exactly when, Bubsy game. I got to play it early. The demo is actually available to the public now, today, and you can go play it for yourself and come up with your own opinions. But I want to talk about it because this is one of the damnedest things I've ever seen in my life. You know, I feel like this is kind of the ideal outcome for a lot of games out there that achieve meme status, you know? Okay, Bubsy, this is a damn wacky franchise, and I feel like just a little bit of talking about how we got here is what will allow me to appreciate Bubsy 4D all more, okay? So the OG games suck. I think we all know that. I mean, you can play a little bit of history in the new collection that's out there. They've kind of fixed Bubsy 3D. That's super cool. But a lot of that kind of trying to make the best out of a bad, funny situation was kind of lost when they made another Bubsy game, Wooly Strikes Back, and it once again, it wasn't all that good. Like, that's the part that didn't need to exist. There is the auto runner that's made by the guys who made like the Bit Trip Runner games, and that one's fine, I guess, but if that's the best Bubsy game that we got, it could be a lot better, but that's how we got to where we are today. So earlier in the year, I got to play a demo for a little platformer coming out called Demon Tides, which I am very excited about. I played the original Demon Turf, and I wasn't super huge on it, but I saw the potential, I saw the vision, and after playing a little bit of this now kind of Wind Waker-y, Mario Bowser's Odyssey kind of collab, kind of crossover platformer with really good movement mechanics, I'm super excited. And when I was talking to the developer, Fabraz, about it, he initially was teasing me that, yeah, I'm working on some kind of different property, and I can't wait for you to figure out, you know, what it's gonna be. And I was like, sure, bro, whatever you say. And then Bubsy came out with the trailer, and it was by him. I was conflicted. I was very conflicted. I actually DM'd him immediately and said, you son of a bitch. And yeah, you know, I was both mad and excited because the Bubsy is not meant to be fun. Everything in history has taught me that Bubsy is not supposed to be a fun and functional platformer. But now you got a guy who one of the best parts about his games are the movement mechanics, and we're doing it in a Bubsy game. And damn it, I got to play in this demo are 3 levels of the first world. You get to see a little bit of cutscenes and voice acting. And you know what, man? This is going to be a good video game. I can't believe it, but Bubsy 4D is going to be a really fun video game. For one, as far as embracing the meme culture of Bubsy is concerned, Bubsy 4D is doing it so much better than the other recent Bubsy games. For one, his voice is no longer incredibly shrill. That's nice. He does make a couple of jokes here or there. They're actually a little bit funnier than you would expect Bubsy to be, but his voice is actually tolerable. He has some funny lines where if you do this glide move, he goes T-posing, baby, and like, I think that's cute. I think that's funny. He calls attention to like, you do these VR missions and he's like, oh, I remember when there were CRT instead of VR. It's just cute little lines from a more tolerable voice. I'm okay that Bubsy just kind of sounds like a guy, you know? There's some extra fan service in here too, because this one other cat character, Oblivia, is not even a character that shows up in the games. It was only in the original cartoon, the pilot of the original cartoon, and Oblivia's here. So it's not like that's gonna really pop anybody. Maybe there's some hardcore Bubsy fan that think that's super cool. I'm just happy to expand on the universe, you know? And then yeah, speaking about those VR missions, when you go into it, it's like this weird kind of off in the distance, you can hear a really far off version of the theme song from Bubsy on Super Nintendo. Like, perfect. That's like the perfect amount of just acknowledgement of the originals, and then you move past it. That's all you could want. One of the skins you can get is also the Bubsy 3D skin. And, you know, anytime any of these modern 3D platformers has a low poly skin, incredible. So there you go, Bubsy 3D skin. In the pause menu, you can even activate tank controls just for the funny, just cause why not? And when you do, the Bubsy voice actor, Bubsy's like, please don't do this. It's why not? Yeah, that's what I want it to be, okay? But eventually the humor part has to subside. Eventually you have to actually play the game and get over the fact that it's a Bubsy game, okay? So how does the game play? Honestly, It's really fun. It's actually a really fun video game, and it plays way better than I was going to expect it to, but it is falling in line with what I currently have in my knowledge bank of Demon Tides. So you run at a pretty brisk pace, but in your arsenal, you have a few different moves that you can chain together kind of whenever you want to. So you have a double jump, you have a flutter, you have this pounce move, and you can jump out of the pounce move, and you have a glide. Those are like your primary movement options, and you can chain them together however you want. You can dive into a glide and then jump out of that. You can double jump and then glide, and when you think you're just about to make it, you can do the dash and then boom, and then you can make your landing right there. You got the other typical moves. You got like a side jump and a backflip kinda, and then you got a triple jump if you want to use it. I didn't really find a lot of uses for it, honestly. Wall jumps, all the typical type of flourish that you would want, but there's also the furball mode, and I really like that. It's a really cute idea, the furball mode. At the push of a button, or you can hold it, that's another option in the options menu, you turn into a ball and you can go incredibly quick. A lot of the areas in the demo are these big half pipe sections where you just gotta go from point A to point B and survive and not fall off, you know, and you can do that with the furball mode, and that's just satisfying. I think anything that's kind of momentum based in a platformer, of course, is really satisfying. However, where everything will kind of come together is that not only in these levels do you have 150 different yarn ball collectibles, there's a hidden scroll that you can find, there's a hidden yarn ball if you want to go for some extras right there. There's also a time attack challenge for every single stage. And these stages are all pretty linear. There's like a branching path here or there that's just there for the sake of collectibles, but as far as the core gameplay loop is concerned, just get to the end as fast as you can, collect stuff along the way. It lends itself really well to time attack challenges because it is required to get really good at going into furball mode and getting out of it so you can do things like the glide and whatnot. It's mandatory in some sections if you really want to maximize your time, but also you're going to want to get good at that anyway because sometimes you're going to fall off the platform and die and go back to the checkpoint, and you might want to instead uncurl out of your ball and do a dive and get back to your platform, and it's really fun. It's so far in this first 3 levels, it's really fun. This is something else that is also in Fabraz's, the developer's wheelhouse, because the Demon games have this as well. It makes perfect sense for this type of game. And what I like is with the combination of how Bubsy looks when he's climbing up walls and the furball mode, and then when you also go back to your base, this UFO ship, you can talk to your niece and nephew, and there's a shop where not only is this where you get the skins for Bubsy if you're so inclined, you can also get a whole bunch of additional moves. And this is something else that I'm liking so much because one of the moves that's on offer in this demo is the coyote mode, like old Looney Tunes. You can run off a platform for a little bit before you fall down. That's such a clever implementation of a move that's also a reference to an old cartoon. I love that, but also everything feels very cat-like because one of the moves that you can get in the full game is the zoomies. Perfect. Like I want to feel like a fast and frantic cat just bouncing off the walls, going crazy, but it also has plenty of that 90s cartoon charm. There's a new evil kind of alien force, the Babots, which are these sheep little creatures, and they're actually using woolly technology. So if you follow the Bubsy lore, the woolies were the ones that you were scared of before, and they're the ones that are obsessed with the different fabrics like the fleece. And actually the way the story goes is the woolies initially were stealing all of the sheep from Earth, and then the sheep had an uprising and pulled a reverse card on them. So now the Babots want to use woolly technology to steal Bubsy's most prized possession, the golden fleece. That's perfect. That's a perfect little pivot to the otherwise basic story of just, hey, the woolies are back. To go after them again. The story actually starts with that. This guy Virgil's like, the woolies are back, and Bubsy's like, that's not my problem. And then the story comes back later when the Babots are a thing. That's cute. I almost forgot, the woolies actually do show up in the levels. There are some enemies that you get to deal with, but they're really just kind of there as another thing to lock onto and pounce at. So far, nothing really crazy in terms of a combat focus. It's really just platforming focus from start to finish, and I think that's for the best. I would imagine there's going to be some more enemy and boss encounters later on in the game, and I think, when they're handled more conservatively and combat is not a core focus of the game, that's going to be kind of the sweet spot, I think. I also really dig the aesthetics we got going on. All the land feels like it's being made from different arts and crafts projects, and when you look off into the distance, you can see even more of the world there that's just made of those same materials. And the soundtrack is also very, very funky and jazzy, and it's really nice. It's just a very pleasant game to dive into, which, again, is insane for Bubsy, but here we are. It's very clear that Bubsy 4D is going to be a game that, as a casual player, it's going to be a fun little platformer where you just go from point A to point B, deal with a bunch of platforming challenges, a few quirky lines from Bubsy, and then you move on. If you like collectibles, the levels all have that, have a lot of things to collect. There were actually in the stages, I was missing like 1 or 2 different yarn balls, and I was getting upset because I couldn't find just the last single one I needed, but I guess that's kind of a good thing that's there. That's replayability right there. But also speedrun enthusiasts are going to love this, because I can guarantee when you really lock in and learn how every single button manipulates this little used to be waste of space, it's gonna feel fantastic. Bubsy 4D is one of my most anticipated indie games right now, which once again is absolutely crazy. You can go click the link down below to go to the Steam page, wishlist the game, go and download the demo so you can get an opinion for yourself. Be sure to check out Demon Tides as well. That's going to be another really fun platformer. And yeah, man, Bubsy's back, and it's good this time. That's insane.